Welcome to Bishop Fox Live from DEF CON 30. I'm Joe Seckman, AVP of R&D.
And I'm Tom Essen, AVP of Consulting, also at Bishop Fox. And I'm here to introduce our final guest of our live stream today, and that is Barry Maclaughlin, Senior Director of Recruiting at Bishop Fox. Welcome.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Glad to have you here. So tell us a little bit about what you've been up to since coming to Bishop Fox. What's your role, and talk about a little bit about recruiting.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am here from a recruiting endeavor to find out a little bit more about the world of DEF CON. Also, we were sponsors of the Diane Initiative yesterday, so participated in that, which was great. And then started the week with B-Sides. So
another great conference.
Touring through all three, understanding really that talent ecosystem inside of our marketplace.
Yeah.
So important to us, and talent is our people, and enjoying that opportunity to meet others and see a little bit about the conferences.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on the Diana Initiative, because that's a kind of a newer conference that has been taking place here alongside B-Sides and DEF CON. What's your experience been with that conference? It's
a tremendous conference. If you think about where Diana Initiative started back in 2015, an offensive security for women, and now expanding that further out into other diversity channels and the opportunities for others to get together, share thoughts and content information, really impressive. So very similar, smaller conference like B-Side with vendors and talk tracks and information, but an outstanding opportunity, I think, for a wide group of people to come together, specifically in the diversity channels that's so important to us in our hiring efforts, but also in the industry as well overall.
Yeah, I agree. It reminds me in my talk I gave at B-Sides Las Vegas this week, I talked about diversity and specifically how diverse teams are the best teams. The more diverse that you can make your teams, the better off you'll be, and better off just working together. And the value that brings a company is just tremendous.
Yeah, you couldn't be more correct, Tom. I mean, I think that not only in the way that we show up as individuals, but collectively our thoughts and the different ways we view things individually. So yeah, I think Bishop Fox has done an amazing job of that. I think it really what sets us apart in the industry, and I think the opportunity for us as an organization collectively is outstanding right now for those reasons.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of talks and discussions about mentorship and hiring and how to get into the industry. So what are some of the hiring trends that you've seen within the cybersecurity industry?
It's interesting, Joe, and seeing this back from even from the Big Four to technology individuals and professionals. Today, really, if you think, really not even before COVID in the Great Resignation, but really the talent wars that have been existing really since the dot-com days, 20 years ago, it was the same war for talent. That was kind of where that concept came from. Today it's no different. In fact, it's even more, I think, exhibited in the choices that people have, how they're treated, what they show up, what they expect, not just on pay, but to your point, mentorship, leadership, directional bearing of the organization. So I think if you're not competing for talent in that capacity in a way that drives people to come to your organization and also stay, growing their careers, you're at a loss. And really what I've seen the trends different today is the talent ecosystem that exists. Traditionally, those channels have always been around full-time employees. That's no longer the case. So maybe you need a subcontractor channel. Maybe you need part-time. Maybe you need to meet people where they are as far as that talent goes to solve problems with clients, but you do it through that individual, collectively through their efforts, but where you meet them as far as what their employment endeavor is and what they want to be.
So one question I have, and I guess this is just building off some of the earlier conversations that we've had, is just around hiring and when to hire, like put up a job rec and look outside versus recruit from within and find somebody that fits that mold or has that potential and seems to be a good fit. Is that something? Well, I guess I won't lead in with the question, but more, how do you see that working, especially at Bishop Fox, which I know happens a lot, but when do you make that call to look within or to hire outside?
It's a good point. Whenever you get tapped in your organization as far as delivering what's next, it's hard, especially what you have with internally. So you're going to have to look at external opportunities to do that. The three really ways that you look at it is one being knowledge. What do people possess in their skill sets of what they already possess walking in the door? The second is those skills themselves. Are these certifications? Is it experiences they draw upon from previous engagements? The last one that's really hard to really find, though, is your aptitude and your ability. Those are the soft skills. So it's easy to go internally because everybody collectively has those same concepts. We're on the same page. We know each other, right? So it's easier, I think, to bring people in projects that way. There's a minimized risk. We already know how good Joe's going to do when he shows up. If I hire Tom from the outside, there's a little bit of ambiguity and unknown, right? Not just you, Tom, but others just in general, right? But, what's important to recognize is you try to understand those three attributes of somebody and their skill sets, their knowledge, and how they show up to clients. That's ultimately what we do really well with. And, how you get along with teams, how you get along with others, how you show up to a project, mentoring, learning, helping others grow as well. It's a big part of it. So going outside isn't easy, but it's critical inorganically to solve problems and to grow your organization.
Yeah, so one of the things that's very unique at Bishop Fox is our culture, I think. And, well, I'd like to think it's unique. I really do think it's unique just in that capacity. But what are the top key ways that you look outside for folks to measure their compatibility culturally?
It's a good question. I think a couple things. One, back when you talk about what matters to people, if I showed up at your house and I sat down with you and your spouse and I had a whole bunch of cards on the table and you picked them over and you talked about what was important to you and your family, maybe it's benefits, maybe it's your career opportunity, maybe it's salary. But ultimately, that's not what's sticky. That's not what keeps you. So I think as you look at people and their cultural interests, you have to dive into your point about our core competencies. What does people show up? How do they want to stay? And so I think it's more than that of just what your pay is, what your benefits say they are, or your working environment. I think it's more about collectively your competencies as an organization. And that's what I think is special about Bishop Fox. It's living your core values in every day. It's not just something you put on a website. It's not something you talk about and you splash it and it sounds good to a corporate level executive, right? It's actually lived. So for me, I think that aspect of what Bishop Fox has that's special sauce is that aspect of the culture. And I think if we put a way that we judged everybody internally about what was important to them, there'd be a similar thread that would tie all of that. And I think you have to look at that in the recruiting opportunities to mirror that, because that's really important to go forward in the same approach where people collectively feels that same way.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of the things I really like about Bishop Fox is, and around our culture, is the mentorship that we provide really anyone in the company through our mentorship program. And that's something that I've worked in companies where mentorship wasn't even a thing. Like, nobody even talked about it. And here we really try to, pair people up with either other leaders in the organization or peers to learn new skills and to develop people into great managers and leaders, and that's something that's very special here. For sure.
I would agree, and I think that respect and care for one another with humility showing up, because you can always have smart people. Bishop Fox has tremendously smart people, but collectively as a group too, and how we work together as we show up and deliver projects. I think that's what's truly significant in an organization, and it represents itself in our turnover. We have extremely low turnover, way lower than the industry. And while everybody's spiked and nobody's immune from that, certainly I think that what people see at Bishop Fox and what I've enjoyed coming here and seeing myself from other organizations as well is that it's special.
Yeah, we'd kind of touched on a little bit of the Great Resignation, as it's called. I'm curious to just get your thoughts of kind of what you see out there in the field of, when a lot of people are leaving their current roles for something else, and the old saying is the grass really greener, right, on the other side. What do you kind of see when you're talking to candidates and you're asking about, like, why are you thinking of leaving your position or things like that?
It's a great question. A lot of times when I go back to a lot of money getting thrown around, there's certain state laws now where I can't ask you what you earned before last year. I can't ask you what your bonus paid. So there's a lot of ambiguity towards understanding truly where a candidate's going to show up and the skills that they have in the marketplace. So the Great Resignation, I think, isn't just about people, thinking about compensation. I think a lot of it's how they're treated. I think there's work that they want to do. I think it's the challenges that they want to solve. So I think it all comes into those things in the Great Resignation and opportunities that people have. I think there's an old school thought, well, we're paying you well. We have an opportunity. We have tuition reimbursement. We have your career opportunities. We have mentorship. Why would you leave? Well, maybe there's something else in their management. Maybe it's in their group. Maybe it's how the other things that they feel like they're treated. Where Bishop Fox comes in uniquely is that we were remote before it was cool. Right? We had a remote workforce. And a lot of times that's not the case anymore. A lot of times it's about our culture we want to be together. Is it? And if you look at it internally, is it a control thing? So I think it's not just about money and benefits and training. I think it's about how people really feel like they're treated by their leadership, how they show up, their collective ideas, and then also how they feel they're valued. That's what sticks people. You know what I mean? It's not just money, because that's not sustainable. That's not retention. And the last thing I'd say is that there's two ways to look at it. One, talent attracts talent. If you have talented workforce and you come in and you interview with an organization, you're like, I want to be with this team. If you flip that over, it's also talent retains talent. You start working with a really great team, and you're like, I want to stay. Yeah. Where else would I go? So those things and opportunities I think that exist at Bishop Fox or other leading organizations, that's what makes the difference.
Yeah, great points. Good points. So obviously, being in recruiting, I'm sure we have open roles that we are hiring for. Where can people go if they're interested in learning more about careers at Bishop Fox?
We have an outstanding marketing department, and a lot of that content that we push out there, both in social and channels and opportunities, and shows up who we are and where we are and what we do, it's on our website. So on our careers page, you're going to find that out as well. There's a fantastic page we've created on LinkedIn. It's a life page. It talks about our people. It talks about giving back and volunteering opportunities. It talks about our different people in Mexico and opportunities we have as a global organization. So I would encourage people to check that out. Check out the roles between our consulting, our technology, back office, opportunities, sales. Tremendous time right now to be at Bishop Fox.
Yes, definitely. Fully agree. Awesome.
Well, Barry, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Thanks for giving us an update and talking about the culture here at Bishop Fox. And thanks to everyone for watching the live stream. Really appreciate it. Hope you found it informative. Be sure to check out bishopfox.com for the latest updates on tools, research, blog posts, and other awesome content. Also, one other update that I'd like to announce. We do have two winners of the Unredactor Challenge, John L. and Sean A. Want to remind everyone there's still time to enter. The contest is up and running until Sunday. So be sure to follow us on our social channels for the latest and greatest updates, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.